Namaskar. Mahabharat, an epic of epic proportions. Maha means big. Mahabharat was the biggest war ever fought in the history of mankind, and it is still relevant today. Why do I call it the biggest war? Is it about the duration? Was it the longest war ever fought in the history of mankind? Or did it have something to do with the number of people who fought and lost their lives? Or maybe it has something to do with the geography that was involved in the war. Let us first look at the timelines. How long did the Mahabharat war last? It lasted 18 days. 18 days. There are wars today going on all around the globe which have lasted an year or more. How can an 18-day war be the biggest war? You might ask. Yes. So maybe for the time being, let us put the timeline aside. What about the number of people who fought? For that, we would need to know the size of the armies that played a part in the Mahabharata. As you know, there were two armies, the Pandava army and the Kaurava army. The Pandava army was 7 Akshohinis big, and the Kaurava army was 11 Akshohinis big. So a total of 18 Akshohinis played a part in the Mahabharata war. What is an Akshohini? Is it a random number? No. Akshohini is a specific composition of all the components that made a part of the armies of those times. There were chariots, there were elephants, the cavalry, and the infantry. There was a specific ratio between these 4 elements. 1 chariot, 1 elephant is to 3 cavalry is to 5 infantry. This was the ratio. But one Akshoni had a specific number of all these 3 components. So let us first look at the numbers. There were 21,870 chariots, the same number of elephants, 65,610 cavalry, and 1,09,350 infantry. This is 1 Akshoni. But we know that there were 18 Akshohinis that participated in the war. This calculation is simple. We just multiply each of these numbers with the number 18. Now the numbers are big. You'd think we have got to the final number? No. No. Because we have to remember that the chariot and the elephant require somebody to drive them. The charioteer accompanies the warrior on the chariot. The Mahat accompanies the warrior on the elephant. So we have to double the number of chariots and elephants to get to the number of men who were fighting on them. Now you can see these are the numbers. They are big. And they add up to 47,23,920 people. That's a huge number. I'm sure there are many of you who are not familiar with the Indian numbering system, for their convenience, I have placed the conversion here. 1 million is equal to 10 lakhs. So all these figures can be converted using that factor. What about the death toll and the survivors? It is said that only 12 major warriors and a handful of the unnamed soldiers were left at the end of the war. So basically what we are looking at is 99.999% of all the participants in the war being annihilated. When we look at it in terms of other wars, for example, you could easily ask me, see, we had 2 world wars in the previous century. Their death toll was much, much more. How much more? A simple search will give us an answer. There were about 40 million deaths in the First World War and 85 million deaths in the Second World War. So 4 crores and 8.45 crores was the death toll in the 2 wars. Now when you compare the Mahabharat death toll to the World War death toll, the Mahabharat numbers seem pretty small. But then I am still claiming that Mahabharat is the biggest war ever in the history of mankind. Now how did I come to that conclusion? When we collate all the numbers, the Mahabharat lasted for 18 days and had a death toll of 47 lakhs. The First World War lasted for 4 years and the death toll was 4 crores. The Second World War lasted for 6 years and the death toll was 8.5 crores. It's only when you collate these numbers and determine the average death per day that something very shocking is revealed. The death toll in the Mahabharat war comes to 2.6 lakhs per day on an average. The same average for the First World War comes to 27,000, and for the Second World War it comes to an average of 38,000 per day. So when we compare the average death toll of the Mahabharat to the 2 world wars, we realize that they are nowhere close, and Mahabharat is the biggest war that has ever happened in human history. Imagine losing close to 50 lakh men in a short span of 18 days. When so many young, fit, trained warriors are lost, all men, it means that all of a sudden there is an imbalance between the genders. 47 lakh plus women no longer have partners or the possibility of partners. That leads to a major demographic change from which recovery must have been very difficult. The fact that Bharat's gender balance is pretty good now means that there was something that our ancestors did in the 7,800 to 8,000 years period since the Mahabharata to now that has ensured that our gender balance is now good. Drastic population reduction that would have happened as a result of the war has been overcome. Is there something that we could learn from how the post Mahabharat period managed its recovery? How long did it take? What was the thought process? What were the attitudes, the policies that helped them recover? The fact that they did is something to rejoice and be proud of. Namaskar. Shubhamastu.